Welcome to Unbridled. This is a space where we can share stories and ask the big questions, laugh at the absurdities, and learn things not taught in textbooks. It's a place where we share truth, even the weird parts, sometimes teaching what we've learned along the way and sometimes discovering new things together. I'm your host, Jenna Davis, and I'm starting this podcast because I've come to realize your path to purpose may not always make sense when you're living it. It might look like detours and roadblocks, wrong turns. For me, it was a lot of what the hell am I doing moments. But now when I look back, I realize it's not a mess. It's a map that branches out in so many directions, eventually leading me back to me. Today, we kick off season 1 of Unbridled. And before I take on the adventure of diving into other people's lives, I thought it was only fair that I share mine with you first, who I am today and how I got here. So here we go with the obvious. I'm a wife, a mother, a holistic health practitioner, the founder of All Your Organics, and I'm an avid equestrian who once upon a time was also a singer-songwriter married to a very different life. So let's dig in. I was pretty much born on the back of a horse with music in my veins. I was raised on big blue skies and wide open spaces and singing at the top of my lungs. While other little girls were playing house, I was making up songs and galloping into other realms on creatures with a heart bigger than most people I knew. By the time I could tie my shoes, I was already fluent in a second language. I didn't know that it was special. I thought that everyone talked to animals, and I thought everyone heard them talk back. Spoiler alert, they don't, and that's weird. But I didn't find that out until I was like 6 or 7. I casually mentioned to my friends at school something that my pony had said, and I got made fun of. I was totally ridiculed. And so I learned at a young age to keep quiet about that kind of stuff. But just because I stopped talking about it, it didn't mean I stopped hearing. The horses kept speaking, not in words, but in feelings and pictures and that kind of thing. Okay. So by the time I was 21, I was married to a professional musician, Derek Wyatt. He was a drummer, and he played for a lot of artists you'd know, like Kelly Clarkson. He was her drummer for several years back when you couldn't turn on the radio without hearing her belting out one of her number one hits. So yeah, I was living the life that most people only catch glimpses of in magazines. By day, I was a professional equestrian. I'm a USDF gold medalist, and I trained a lot of talented horses and coached a lot of other competitive riders. By night, I was on stage singing or in the studio writing music, and when those things weren't happening, I was living what I'll just sum up as the LA lifestyle. I was partying at the Playboy Mansion and running by movie sets to visit friends, summering in the Hamptons. People like Paris Hilton were calling me on the phone. But something happened to me when, in the middle of what I thought was my dream life, I was checking all the boxes. I was collecting credentials. The highlight reels looked amazing. But when I looked back, something shifted. The way I used to connect to animals, to energy, it started to feel very distant and blurry, kind of like a dream I couldn't quite remember. I still felt things. I still sensed things, but the clear channel I had as a child, it was very different. The messages only came when they wanted to speak, not when I called out to them. And eventually, the talking stopped. Only the feelings remained. And then my body started hurting, like slowly initially. And I wrote the pain off to like working hard and playing hard. But one morning, I woke up and I couldn't get out of bed. Like, it felt like my feet were broken and I literally could not get out of bed. So I ended up in the ER, and they ran all kind of tests, and they ruled out a lot of things. And they started focusing on lupus. The next day, they sent me to the rheumatologist in Pasadena, and he examined me and he looked at the test, and then he looked me dead in the face and said something that set bells off inside of me. He said, I don't want to diagnose you with lupus, not yet. I just don't want to put that on you right now. I want you to do something for me, and it's going to seem weird, but being the queen of weird, I was all in. So anyway, he told me to move out of my house immediately and to eat only raw fruit, raw vegetables, and raw nuts for a few weeks, and then come back and see him. So I did. I did exactly that. I got an apartment in Studio City. I ate what I was supposed to, and within a week, I was already feeling remarkably better. And that was the beginning of a very obscure path. I knew that my horses ghosting me and my health taking a dive was all related, but I wanted to know why. Like, how do you ask those questions without sounding a little unhinged? I mean, excuse me, has anyone seen my telepathic abilities or my ability to walk? Like, exactly. So I went quiet again. But this time I searched through nutrition, through nature, through frequency, through silence, and a lot of prayer. From science to spirit and everything in between, I wanted the voice back, and I wanted me back. And as the old saying goes, seek and you shall find. I didn't have a roadmap for what was happening, but there were signs and there were nudges and frequencies I didn't have a language for yet. And that's when I stumbled on to what I now call the resonance rabbit hole. I started studying things that no one talked about, like scalar waves and biofield tuning. It wasn't a hobby. It was a hunger. And I wasn't just looking for answers now. I wasn't even trying to fix anything. I was trying to return to something, and I knew that. I learned the body is a field of information and that resonance matters, and that everything we allow in, food, people, beliefs, it either supports our field or it scrambles it. And I now know that I was born very connected to that field, and even though I didn't know that it existed, it took everything getting scrambled for me to start searching for answers. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't scared of the weird. I welcomed it because something inside me knew the weird was actually the real. So I followed it, literally. I left my life behind, all of it, well, except the horses. I left my life in LA. I left my farm outside of Nashville. And I left my husband. I wanted simplicity and truth. I wanted to return to the person I was before the world told me who to be. So I moved to Alabama and I rebuilt my life from scratch. We'll unpack all that another time. But eventually, that's the road. That's where I met my now husband, Nelson. It was a long road to get to him. But from the moment we met, he didn't just get me. He guarded the version of me that I was still becoming. And he was becoming a better version of himself too. Our story is beautiful. It is messy. And, what do they say? A lot of sunshine with some hurricanes thrown in. But we have a strong testimony. And one day I'll share all of it. But let's move on. We had a daughter, Daisy, and another shift began. It was like God handed her to me and said, now do you see? Becoming a mom flipped everything inside of me again. Like suddenly labels mattered, ingredients mattered, everything mattered. So I started researching again from a different angle this time. It was like I was waking up all over again though. So I started noticing that everyone seemed to be outsourcing their parental instincts, just following along what everyone does because, well, that's what everyone does. But I couldn't do that. My instincts were tried and true by this point, and I was ready to go the distance for her, even if it meant taking the road less traveled. I was making my own baby food and laundry detergent and skincare, and All You Organics was born from that season in my life. Even though it didn't become a business until like 9 years later, every product in my store was originally made for or because of her. So now here we are. I'm a holistic health practitioner. I have a skincare company, All You Organics. And for the future, I'm working on developing another equestrian center. But this time, I want to merge everything beautiful together. I have a vision. And now I'm just working on bringing the right people together to make it a reality. And I'll share that with you as it unfolds. Okay, so today, the birth of this podcast. And why am I doing this? Well, because I realized my story, it's not just mine. That what I've been trying to navigate in the dark, that others are too, and they're going to. More and more people are starting to see through the facade, and I wanted a space to talk about things, especially the weird stuff. I wanted to offer real guidance, real solutions, and initiate healing, not just physical, but spiritual and energetically. And because I finally decided that everything I had once hidden, the child who could talk to animals and the woman who could read energy, the seeker who can't unsee the truth, I'm not hiding anymore. There's so much that we can learn from each other. So let this be your reminder. The path to your highest self is not always paved. Sometimes it is wild, and sometimes it's whispered, and sometimes it starts on the back of a horse, and sometimes it starts right here. Until next time, stay unbridled. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, stay unbridled.